The mining planet 7 was a place where hope came to die. Gray dust covered everything. The sky was always dark with thick clouds that blocked the sun. The air smelled like metal and sweat. Thousands of prisoners worked in the deep tunnels beneath the surface, digging for rare minerals that powered ships across the galaxy. Sam Carter had been here for almost 2 years. He remembered his old life sometimes. He used to be a cargo pilot from Kansas, flying simple trade routes between human colonies. He had a small ship, a decent income, and dreams of saving enough money to buy a farm someday. Then the raiders came. They attacked his ship near the outer colonies and took him prisoner. Now he was just another number in this terrible place. There were the masters here. They were tall reptilian creatures with green scales and yellow eyes. They walked on 2 legs like humans but had tails and sharp teeth. They believed they were better than all other species in the galaxy. To them, humans and other races were nothing more than tools to be used and thrown away. Every morning the guards woke the prisoners before dawn. They gave them small portions of gray paste that passed for food. Then they marched everyone down into the mines. The work was hard and dangerous. Cave-ins happened often. Prisoners died every week. They did not care. There were always more prisoners to replace the dead ones. Sam worked in Unit 17. His group had about 30 prisoners from different species. There were humans, some 4-armed, a few insect-like, and 2. Sam had learned to keep his head down and do his work. Making friends in a place like this was dangerous. Friends died and grief made you weak. But he could not help noticing the mother and her daughter. Was her name? She was tall and thin with pale blue skin that seemed to glow slightly in the dark tunnels. Her eyes were large and completely black, like pools of deep water. Her people were known throughout the galaxy as peaceful scholars and artists. They had no warriors, no weapons. When they conquered their colony, they had no way to fight back. Her daughter was only 7 cycles old. She was small even for a child, with the same blue skin and dark eyes as her mother. She should have been in school somewhere, learning songs and stories. Instead, she carried rocks in a mining camp, her tiny hands bleeding from the rough stones. Sam watched them for the first few weeks. He saw how always put herself between and the guards. He saw how she gave her daughter half of her own food even though she was already too thin. He saw how she worked twice as fast to make up for slower pace, her hands shaking with exhaustion by the end of each day. The other prisoners ignored them. That was normal here. Everyone was fighting to survive. No one had energy to spare for others, but Sam could not look away. One day he found himself standing next to in the food line, was clinging to her mother's leg, her eyes fixed on the ground. Sam looked at the child and felt something twist in his chest. She reminded him of his little sister Amy, who had died in a shuttle accident 10 years ago. Amy had been 7 years old too, with the same frightened look in her eyes during thunderstorms. Sam did not say anything. He just took his food portion and walked to his usual corner. But that night, when the lights went out, he lay awake thinking. The next morning, Sam moved closer to and in the tunnel. When the overseer was not looking, he grabbed some of the heavier rocks from his pile and added them to his own load. The little girl looked up at him with surprise. Sam just nodded and kept working. After that, he helped them every day. He took extra loads when the guards were not watching. He gave part of his water ration when she started coughing from the dust. He stood in front of them when the march passed, making himself a shield without thinking about it. Watched him with confusion at first. She did not understand why this human was helping them. In her experience, different species did not help each other in places like this. Everyone looked out for themselves. That was the only way to survive. One evening, after a long day in the mines, finally spoke to him. Her voice was soft and musical, like wind through leaves. "Why do you help us, human?" she asked. "We have nothing to give you. We cannot pay you back." Sam thought about the question for a long moment. He looked at who was already falling asleep against her mother's side. The child's face was peaceful in sleep, innocent despite everything she had seen. "I had a sister once," Sam said slowly. "She died when she was about's age. I could not save her, I could not do anything." He paused and swallowed hard. "I cannot save everyone in this place, but maybe I can help you too. Maybe that is enough." Studied his face with her dark eyes. She seemed to be looking for something, searching for a lie or a hidden motive. But she found only sadness and honesty. "Among my people," she said quietly, "we believe that kindness is the strongest force in the universe, stronger than weapons, stronger than hate. I had begun to forget that in this place. Thank you for reminding me." From that night on, something changed between them. Began to trust Sam. She told him about her home world, about the beautiful cities made of crystal and light. She told him about her husband, who had died fighting even though he had never held a weapon before in his life. She told him about her dreams of freedom and safety and a normal life. Sam listened to everything. He told her about Earth, about Kansas, about the wide open fields of wheat that turned gold in the summer sun. He told her about his family, all gone now. He told her about his fears that he would die in this place and no one would remember his name. Began to warm up to him too. She was shy at first, hiding behind her mother whenever Sam came near. But children are quick to sense kindness. Within a few weeks, she was following Sam around the barracks, asking him questions about humans and Earth and everything else she could think of. Sam taught her a clapping game that human children played. It was silly and simple, just hands slapping together in a pattern while singing a nonsense song, but loved it. Her laughter echoed through the barracks, a strange and beautiful sound in such a dark place. Other prisoners stopped to watch, their faces softening for just a moment. Sam Friend called him. It was her own invention, a mix of human and Naming customs. Sam Friend. The name made his heart hurt in a good way. For a little while, despite everything, Sam felt something like happiness. He had found something worth protecting. He had found a reason to survive. But this was 7, and happiness never lasted long in a place like this. 3 weeks passed. The days blurred together in the endless cycle of work and exhaustion. Wake up, eat gray paste, march into the tunnels, dig, carry, dig some more, march back out, eat again, sleep, repeat. Sam had grown used to the routine. His muscles no longer screamed at the end of each day. His hands had developed thick calluses that protected them from the sharp rocks. He had learned to move through the darkness of the tunnels without stumbling, to sense danger before it arrived. But he never grew used to the fear. It lived in his chest like a cold stone, always there, always heavy. Fear of the guards, fear of cave-ins, fear of getting sick with no medicine to help, fear of watching or get hurt while he could do nothing to stop it. That fear became real on a gray morning in the middle of the work cycle. The day started badly. There had been strange sounds in the tunnels during the night shift, groaning noises from deep in the rock. The experienced miners knew what that meant. The ground was unstable. Something was going to give. The overseers did not care. They pushed the prisoners to work faster. There was a quota to meet. The empire needed its minerals. What happened to the workers did not matter. Unit 17 was assigned to a deep section of the mine that day. Sam stayed close to, and as they moved through the narrow passages, the air was thick with dust. The walls seemed to press in from all sides. Around midday, the collapse happened. A thunderous roar filled the tunnel. The ground shook. Rocks fell from above like rain. Sam grabbed and threw himself against the wall, covering her small body with his own. Dust filled his lungs. He could not see. He could not breathe. He could only hold on and pray. When the shaking stopped, Sam looked around. Several prisoners were trapped under fallen rocks. Others were screaming for help. The tunnel behind them was completely blocked. They were trapped. It took hours to dig out. The prisoners worked together, moving stones by hand, calling out to each other in the darkness. Sam helped pull 3 people from the rubble. One of them was already dead. The other 2 were badly hurt. had protected during the collapse. The little girl was frightened but unharmed. Herself had a deep cut on her arm that bled steadily, but she refused to rest until they found a way out. Finally, after what felt like forever, they broke through to a side tunnel. The survivors stumbled toward the surface, carrying their wounded, leaving their dead behind. When they emerged into the gray daylight, Commander was waiting. Was the chief overseer of the mining camp. He was larger than most, with dark green scales and eyes the color of poison. A long scar ran down the left side of his face, a mark from some old battle. He was known throughout the camp for his cruelty. Other guards were harsh but enjoyed causing pain. He smiled when prisoners suffered. He laughed when they begged. The prisoners of Unit 17 lined up before him, covered in dust and blood. They were exhausted. Some could barely stand. They had just survived a cave-in that had killed 4 of their number. They needed rest, food, medical care. Did not care about any of that. He cared only about one thing. "You failed to meet your quota," he said. His voice was cold and sharp like a blade. 400 units short. This is unacceptable. No one spoke. What could they say? They had been trapped underground for hours. They had barely escaped with their lives, but excuses meant nothing to the failure was failure. Walked slowly along the line of prisoners. His yellow eyes moved over each face, searching for something. Sam felt a chill run down his spine as those eyes passed over him. "Someone must be punished," said. "Someone must pay for this failure. An example must be set." He stopped walking. Sam's heart dropped into his stomach when he saw where was standing. Right in front of. The little girl was shaking with exhaustion and fear. She was still holding her collection bag, clutching it against her chest like a shield. Her dark eyes were huge in her small face. Looked down at her with a smile that held no warmth. "Perhaps this one," he said. "This little creature has been slowing down your unit for weeks. I have seen the reports. She cannot carry a full load. She cannot keep pace. Perhaps she is the reason for today's failure." "No," whispered. She stepped forward, putting herself between and her daughter. "Please, Commander, she is just a child. She did her best. The collapse was not her fault." Smile widened. "Are you arguing with me?" Before could answer, strength finally gave out. Her tired hands lost their grip on the collection bag. It fell to the ground at its feet, scattering mineral fragments across the dirt. The silence that followed was absolute. Every prisoner held their breath. Every guard turned to watch. Looked down at the scattered minerals. Then he looked back at. His smile became something terrible. "Carelessness," he said softly. "Disrespect. Dropping Imperial property at the feet of your commander." He shook his head slowly. "This cannot go unpunished." He raised his voice so everyone could hear. "The child will receive 20 strikes from the shock rod. Let this be a lesson to all of you about the price of failure." A sound escaped from his throat. It was not a word. It was pure horror given voice. She knew what 20 strikes meant. The shock rod was a weapon that delivered powerful electric shocks with each blow. It was designed to cause maximum pain without killing immediately. 20 strikes would destroy an adult. For a child, it would be death. A slow, agonizing death. Fell to her knees before, tears streamed down her blue face. "Please," she begged. "Please, Commander, take me instead. Punish me. I will take her strikes. I will take double. Please, not my daughter. She is all I have left. Please." Looked down at her with contempt. "Pathetic," he said. "Your offer is refused. The child committed the offense. The child will receive the punishment. That is justice." 2 guards stepped forward and grabbed by the arms. They dragged her back away from. She screamed and fought, but she was weak from the cave-in, weak from hunger, weak from months of suffering. She could not break free. Began to cry. "Mother," she sobbed. "Mother, please, I am sorry. I did not mean to drop it, Mother." Another guard reached for the child. Sam watched it all happen. He saw his face twisted in agony. He saw his small body shaking with sobs. He saw Sam's cruel smile, the guards' blank expressions, the other prisoners looking away because they could not bear to watch. He thought about all the times he had looked away before, all the times he had told himself there was nothing he could do, all the times he had let terrible things happen because fighting back meant risking his own life. He thought about his sister Amy. He thought about the promise he had made at her grave, the promise to be better, to be braver, to protect the innocent when he could. He thought about calling him Sam friend. He thought about her laughter during their clapping game. He thought about her small hand in his as they walked through the tunnels together. Something broke inside him, or maybe something finally came together. Before the guard could touch, Sam stepped forward. His voice rang out across the yard, strong and clear. "Stop!" Everyone turned to look at him. His eyes narrowed. "I did it," Sam said. "The quote of failure is my fault. I caused the cave-in, my negligence, my mistake. Punish me, not the child." The lie was obvious. Everyone knew it was a lie. But Sam stood tall, his eyes locked on his face, waiting to see what would happen next. Studied him for a long moment. Then slowly, a new smile spread across his face. "How interesting," he said. "A human volunteers for punishment. I have heard that your species is foolish, but this is remarkable." He tilted his head. "Very well, I accept your confession, but since you have wasted my time with this little drama, the punishment will be increased. 30 strikes. Do you still volunteer?" Sam did not hesitate. "Yes." Smile showed all his teeth. "Then let us begin." Guards forced Sam to his knees in the center of the yard. The hard ground bit into his legs through his thin prison clothes. They pulled his shirt off, leaving his back bare to the cold air. His skin prickled with goosebumps, but he forced himself not to shiver. All around him, prisoners were being lined up to watch. This was part of the punishment. They wanted everyone to see what happened to those who failed. They wanted fear to spread through the camp like a disease. Sam looked across the yard and found 2 guards still held her arms, keeping her in place. Her dark eyes were fixed on him, filled with tears and something else. Gratitude, horror, guilt, all mixed together into an expression that hurt to see. Was beside her mother now, clinging to her leg. The little girl had stopped crying. She was just staring at Sam with those huge dark eyes, not understanding what was about to happen. Sam managed a small smile for her. He wanted her to remember him smiling, not screaming. Commander walked in front of Sam, holding the shock rod. The weapon was about 3 feet long, made of black metal with glowing blue lines running along its surface. Those lines carried the electric charge that would soon tear through Sam's body. 30 strikes, announced loudly, for negligence, for causing the death of 4 workers, for wasting Imperial resources. He leaned closer to Sam and lowered his voice. "I know you are lying, human, but I do not care. Watching you suffer will be entertaining enough." Sam said nothing. He kept his eyes forward, his jaw tight. Stepped behind him. Sam heard the hum of the shock rod powering up. The sound made his stomach clench with fear, but he did not move. He did not beg. The first strike came without warning. Pain exploded across Sam's back. It was worse than anything he had ever felt. The electricity shot through his muscles, making them spasm and contract. His teeth slammed together so hard he tasted blood. A strangled sound escaped his throat, but he did not scream. The second strike hit before the pain from the first had faded. Sam's vision went white. His hands clawed at the dirt. Every nerve in his body was on fire. 3, 4, 5. By the 5th strike, Sam's back was bleeding. The shock rod left burns where it touched, cooking the skin and the flesh beneath. Blood ran down his spine in hot streams. The pain was so intense that his mind started to drift, trying to escape. 6, 7, 8. Sam focused on breathing. In, out, in, out. He thought about Kansas. He thought about fields of wheat swaying in the wind. He thought about his mother's voice singing in the kitchen. He thought about anything except the fire burning across his back. 9:10. Someone in the crowd was crying. Sam could hear the sobs but could not turn to see who it was. He hoped it was not. He did not want her to cry for him. Paused after the 10th strike. He walked around to face Sam, looking down at the human with curiosity. "Most prisoners scream by now," he said. "Most prisoners beg for mercy. Why do you not scream, human?" Sam lifted his head. It took all his strength. His vision was blurry, his body shaking, but he managed to meet's eyes. "Because you want me to," he said through bloody teeth, "and I will not give you what you want." Something flickered in his eyes. It might have been anger. It might have been respect. Sam could not tell and did not care. Walked back behind him. 20 more, he said. "Let us see how long your courage lasts." 11, 12, 13. The world became nothing but pain. Sam lost track of where he was, who he was, why he was here. There was only the shock rod and the fire and the desperate need to stay conscious. 14, 15. He heard his voice somewhere in the distance calling his name. He held onto that sound like a lifeline. He could not see her, but he knew she was there. She was watching. He had to stay strong for them. 16, 17, 18. His arms gave out. Sam fell forward, catching himself on his forearms. His back was a ruined mess of burns and blood. The smell of cooked flesh filled his nostrils. He gagged but did not vomit. There was nothing in his stomach to throw up. 19, 20. 2/3 done. 10 more to go. Sam did not know if he could survive 10 more. His heart was beating too fast, skipping beats, struggling to keep him alive. His body was going into shock. But he had to survive. For he had not come this far to die now. 21, 22. The crowd had gone completely silent. Even the guards were watching with something other than cruelty on their faces. This human refused to break. He refused to beg. He just kept taking the punishment, strike after strike, without giving the satisfaction of hearing him scream. 23, 24, 25. 5 more, just 5 more. Sam repeated the number in his head like a prayer. 5 more, 5 more. He could do this. He had to do this. 26, 27. His vision went dark. He could not see anything now, could only hear the hum of the shock rod and his own ragged breathing. His body felt like it belonged to someone else. The pain was still there, but it had become something distant, like watching a storm from inside a house. 28, 29. 1 more, just 1 more. 30. The final strike hit him like a bolt of lightning. Sam felt his heart stutter, stop, then start again. His muscles locked up completely, and then, finally, mercifully, the pain stopped. He collapsed face first into the dirt. He could not move, he could barely breathe, but he was alive. Somehow, against all odds, he was still alive. Stood over him, looking down with an expression Sam could not read. The commander was quiet for a long moment. Then he spoke. "The human took his punishment. The debt is paid." He turned to the guards. "Throw him in the recovery cell. If he survives the night, he can return to work tomorrow." 2 guards grabbed Sam's arms and dragged him across the yard. His legs trailed behind him, useless. Every inch of movement sent new waves of agony through his body, but he was too weak to even groan. As they dragged him past the line of prisoners, Sam forced his eyes open one last time. He searched the crowd until he found and was no longer crying. She was staring at him with an expression of absolute awe. Her hands were pressed against her chest over her heart. Her lips were moving, forming words Sam could not hear. Was clutching her mother's hand, but her eyes were on Sam. She looked confused and frightened and sad, but she was alive. She was unharmed. That was all that mattered. Sam managed to smile at them. It was a small, broken smile, barely visible through the dirt and blood on his face, but it was real. Then the guards dragged him around a corner, and he saw nothing more. The recovery cell was a small stone room with no windows. They dropped Sam on the cold floor and left him there in the darkness. The door slammed shut. The lock clicked. Sam lay where they had dropped him, unable to move. His back was a landscape of fire and pain. His whole body shook with cold and shock. He knew he should try to stay warm, try to stop the bleeding, try to do something to save himself. But he was too tired, too broken, too empty. As the darkness closed in around him, Sam thought about's face. He thought about her laughter during their clapping game. He thought about soft voice telling stories about her home world. They were safe. That was enough. Whatever happened to him now, at least they were safe. His eyes closed. His breathing slowed, and Sam drifted into unconsciousness, not knowing if he would ever wake up again. Sam woke to the feeling of cool water on his lips. He did not know how long he had been unconscious. Hours, days. Time had no meaning in the dark cell. All he knew was pain and thirst and the desperate need to survive. Someone was holding his head up, tipping water into his mouth. The water was clean and cold, better than anything they gave the prisoners. Sam swallowed greedily, his cracked lips stinging. Slowly, a soft voice said, "Not too fast, you will make yourself sick." Sam knew that voice. He forced his eyes open. Was kneeling beside him in the darkness. Her pale blue skin seemed to glow faintly, giving off just enough light to see by. Her dark eyes were full of worry and something deeper, something that looked like love. "How?" Sam's voice came out as a broken whisper. His throat was raw. "How did you get in here?" "I bribed a guard," said quietly. "I gave him the last thing of value I owned, a memory crystal with images of my husband. It was all I had left of him." She paused, and Sam saw her eyes glisten. "But you are more important than memories. You are here now, alive. That matters more." Sam wanted to tell her she should not have done that. She should have kept her treasure, kept her memories safe. But he was too weak to argue, and somewhere deep inside he was grateful, so grateful that she had come. Began to tend to his wounds. She had torn strips from her own clothes to make bandages. She cleaned the burns on his back with water she had saved from her own rations. Her hands were gentle, careful, moving with skill that surprised him. "My people are healers by nature," she explained as she worked. "We do not have doctors like humans do. Every learns the old ways of medicine. I am no expert, but I can help you." The water stung his wounds, but Sam did not complain. He lay still and let her work, focusing on the sound of her voice as she hummed a soft melody. It was a healing song, she told him. Her mother used to sing it when was sick as a child. Time passed. Sam drifted in and out of sleep. Every time he woke was still there. She gave him more water. She changed his bandages. She whispered prayers over his broken body, asking her ancestors to guide him back to health. On what might have been the second night, Sam woke to find crying. She was sitting against the wall, her knees pulled up to her chest, her face hidden in her arms. Her shoulders shook with silent sobs. Sam watched her for a moment, his heart aching. He said softly. She looked up, startled. Her eyes were red from crying. "I am sorry," she said quickly, wiping her face. "I did not mean to disturb you. Go back to sleep. You need rest." "Why are you crying?" She was quiet for a long moment. Then she spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. "I keep asking myself why," she said. "Why did you do it? Why did you take those strikes for? She is not your child. She is not even your species. You barely knew us. And yet you offered your life for hers without hesitation." She shook her head. "I do not understand. No one has ever done something like that for us. Not even our own people." Sam thought about the question. He had asked himself the same thing in the moments between sleep and waking. Why had he done it? What had driven him to step forward? "I told you about my sister," he said finally. "Amy, she died when she was 7. There was an accident and I was not there. I could not save her." He paused, gathering his strength. "When I saw standing there about to be hurt, I saw Amy. I saw every child I could not protect, and I decided that this time I would not look away. This time I would do something even if it killed me. Listened without interrupting. When he finished, she moved closer to him. She took his hand in hers, her fingers cool and smooth against his rough skin. "Among my people," she said, "there is an ancient custom. It is called the kin bond. When someone saves the life of a child at great personal cost, they become family, not by blood but by spirit. It is one of the most sacred bonds in our culture, more binding than marriage, more lasting than death." Sam did not know what to say. He just held her hand and listened. "I want to perform this ritual with you," continued. "I want to make you kin. You would become Fatherheart, her chosen parent, and I would become your family in all ways that matter." She squeezed his hand. "You would never be alone again, Sam. Not ever." Tears blurred Sam's vision. He had been alone for so long. Since his family died, he had drifted through life with no purpose, no connections, no one who would miss him if he disappeared. The thought of having a family again, even here in this terrible place, filled him with an emotion he could not name. "Yes," he whispered, "I would be honored." 3 days later, Sam was strong enough to walk. The guards came and dragged him back to the barracks, throwing him onto his old sleeping mat without a word. His back was still healing, still painful, but he was alive. That was more than most people expected. The other prisoners looked at him differently now. When he entered the barracks, conversation stopped. People stared. Some of them nodded at him with respect. Others looked away, unable to meet his eyes. Word had spread about what he had done. In a place where everyone fought to survive, where kindness was rare and sacrifice was unheard of, Sam had become something like a legend. The human who took 30 strikes for an alien child. The human who refused to scream. That evening performed the kin ritual. It happened in a quiet corner of the barracks with only a few witnesses. Took Sam's hand and placed it over his heart. Then she took his hand and placed it over Sam's heart. She spoke the ancient words in her native language, her voice ringing with power and emotion. "By the bond of spirit and sacrifice, I declare this man kin. He is father to my daughter, brother to my heart, family to my soul. What he has given cannot be repaid. What he has proven cannot be forgotten. From this moment until the stars grow cold, he is ours and we are his." Looked up at Sam with her huge dark eyes. She did not fully understand what was happening, but she knew it was important. When the ritual was complete, she hugged him carefully, avoiding his bandaged back. "Father Heart," she said. It was the term for a chosen parent, someone who became family through love rather than blood. "My Father Heart." Sam held her gently, tears streaming down his face. He could not remember the last time he had cried. Maybe when Amy died, maybe before that. But now the tears came freely, washing away years of loneliness and grief. Put her arms around both of them, pulling them close. The three of them stayed like that for a long time, holding each other in the darkness of the barracks, finding warmth and comfort in their new family. From that night on, everything was different. They slept together within the middle. They shared their food equally. They protected each other in the tunnels. Sam called his sister and she called him her brother, called them both by their new titles, Mother and Father Heart. The other prisoners watched them with a mixture of confusion and envy. A human, a woman, and a child living as a family. It was strange. It was unprecedented, but it was also beautiful. Even some of the guards seemed affected. One soldier, younger than the others, began leaving extra water rations near their sleeping area. He never said anything, never acknowledged what he was doing, but caught him once and nodded her thanks. He looked away quickly, but not before Sam saw something like shame in his eyes. Commander never troubled them again. Maybe he had made his point. Maybe he had other prisoners to torment. Or maybe, in some dark corner of his mind, even he recognized that he had met something stronger than his cruelty. Sam's back healed slowly. The scars would be with him forever, thick ridges of burned tissue that told the story of what he had endured. But the pain faded. And every time Sam felt the scars pull when he moved, he remembered why he had earned them. He had a family now, a daughter and a sister, a reason to survive. And that made everything worth it. 8 months passed, 8 months of work and hunger and fear, 8 months of holding his family together through the darkness, but Sam never lost hope. He had learned long ago that hope was sometimes the only weapon the powerless had. Then one morning, everything changed. The prisoners woke to the sound of explosions in the sky. They rushed outside the barracks and looked up. Through the gray clouds they could see flashes of light. Ships were fighting above the planet. Big ships, warships. The guards ran toward their posts, shouting orders and grabbing weapons. Sirens began to wail across the camp. More explosions shook the ground. Sam grabbed and pulled them back into the barracks. "Stay down," he said. "Stay together. Whatever happens, we stay together." The battle lasted for hours. The prisoners huddled in their shelters, listening to the thunder of weapons and the screaming of ships. They did not know who was fighting. They did not know who was winning. They only knew that something big was happening. Then suddenly, the fighting stopped. Sam crept to the barracks door and looked outside. The guards were gone. Their posts were empty, their weapons abandoned. In the distance he could see ships landing near the main gate, but these were not ships. They were different, sleeker, human design. "Stay here," Sam told. "I'm going to find out what is happening." He moved carefully across the yard, staying low. Other prisoners were starting to emerge from their shelters, looking around with confusion and fear. No one knew what was going on. No one dared to hope. Sam reached the main gate just as it opened. Soldiers poured into the camp. They wore armor Sam recognized. Human armor mixed with other designs he did not know. Some of them were human, others were different species. They moved with purpose, spreading out across the camp, calling for the prisoners to stay calm. One of the soldiers, a woman with short brown hair and kind eyes, approached Sam. She wore a patch on her shoulder showing a symbol of linked hands. The Coalition. Sam had heard stories about them before his capture, an alliance of species working together against the Empire. "Are you a prisoner here?" she asked. Sam could not speak. His throat was tight. After 2 years of suffering, after everything he had endured, he could not believe what was happening. "Yes," he finally managed to say. "We are prisoners, all of us." The soldier smiled. It was the most beautiful smile Sam had ever seen. "Not anymore," she said. "You are free." The liberation of 7 took 3 days. The coalition forces secured the camp, provided food and medical care, and began processing the thousands of prisoners for transport to safety. Commander was captured trying to escape on a shuttle. He would face trial for his crimes against prisoners of all species. Sam and were taken to a medical ship in orbit. For the first time in years, they slept in clean beds. They ate real food. Doctors treated Sam's old wounds and lingering illness, was given toys and picture books and all the things a child should have. When the coalition officers asked Sam about his family status, he told them the truth, and were his family. They were kin. The officers looked confused at first, but the bond was documented in both human and law. The paperwork was complicated, but no one who saw them together doubted that they belonged with each other. Formally registered Sam as legal guardian. She named him as her brother in all official documents. They were family now, in every way that mattered. The rehabilitation took months. There were medical treatments and counseling sessions. There were interviews with officials who wanted to document what had happened in the camp. There were tears and nightmares and long conversations in the middle of the night. But slowly they healed. Sam gained back the weight he had lost. His blue skin grew brighter as her health returned. Started smiling again, laughing again, acting like a child instead of a tiny survivor. When they were ready to leave the rehabilitation station, a coalition representative asked them where they wanted to go. Sam thought about Earth. He thought about Kansas and the farm he had once dreamed of owning, but that dream felt like it belonged to someone else now, a different Sam from a different lifetime. "Is there a colony where humans and live together?" he asked. "Somewhere peaceful, somewhere we can start over." The representative nodded. "There is a planet called New Evergreen, mixed community, good schools, safe neighborhoods. It is a popular choice for families like yours." Sam looked at. She smiled and nodded. "New Evergreen," Sam said. "That sounds like home." They arrived on New Evergreen at the start of spring. The planet was beautiful in ways that made Sam's heart ache. Rolling hills covered in green grass, forests of tall trees with silver leaves, a sky so blue it almost hurt to look at. They settled in a small town near the coast. The community was mixed, just as the representative had said. Human children played with children in the parks. Different species worked together in shops and offices. It was not perfect, but it was peaceful. Sam took a job as a shuttle pilot, flying cargo runs between the colony and nearby stations. The work was simple and steady, and it let him be home every evening. He never wanted to spend another night away from his family. Began teaching at the local cultural center. She shared art and history with students of all species. Her classes were popular. People came from across the town to hear her stories about her home world and the beautiful things her people had created. Started school. She made friends quickly. Human friends from species Sam had never heard of. She came home every day with new stories, new questions, new adventures to share. Months turned into years. The scars on Sam's back faded from red to white, becoming part of him like the lines on his palms. He rarely thought about the mining camp anymore. When he did, the memories felt distant, like a bad dream from long ago. On quiet evenings, Sam liked to sit on the porch of their small house and watch the twin suns set. The sky turned gold and pink and purple, colors he had forgotten existed during his time underground. Would climb onto his lap and ask questions about everything. What are stars made of? Why is the ocean salty? Do all humans have hair on their heads? She was endlessly curious, endlessly full of wonder. Sam answered as best he could. When he did not know something, he admitted it. Sometimes they looked up the answers together on the data pad. Sometimes they just made up stories and laughed. Would join them as the suns dipped below the horizon. She would sit beside Sam, her hand resting on his shoulder, and listen to his chatter with a peaceful smile. The three of them would stay there until the stars came out, pointing out constellations and making wishes. One evening, asked a question that caught Sam off guard. "Father Heart," she said, using the title she still preferred, "do you ever wish things had been different, that you never met us, that you never had to take those strikes?" Sam was quiet for a moment. He thought about the pain. He thought about the terror. He thought about how close he had come to dying in that dark cell. Then he looked at its face, at her bright eyes and curious smile. He felt its hand warm on his shoulder. He thought about all the laughter they had shared, all the love they had found. "No," he said honestly, "I would do it again, 100 times, 1,000 times, because it brought me to you, and you are worth everything." Hugged him tight, leaned her head against his arm. The stars sparkled above them, bright points of light in the endless darkness. Sam Carter had once been a prisoner, a number, a man with no family and no hope. Now he was Father Heart and Brother Heart. Now he had a home. The universe was vast and often cruel, but sometimes, if you were brave enough and lucky enough, you could find light even in the darkest places. You could find family among strangers. You could find love across the stars. Sam had found all of that and more. And as he sat there with his daughter in his lap and his sister at his side, watching the twin suns paint the sky with fire, he knew he was exactly where he was meant to be. He was home,